Hi everyone, welcome back. We are going to jump right into the start of the 1970s today. So I am going to share my screen, hop on over here to the start of the 1970s. And again, I will minimize myself. All right, post-World War II, 1970 to 1979, officially in Unit 4. We are going to get right into it. In May of 1970, the Vietnam War was continuing to rage on. At this point, President Richard Nixon decided to invade Cambodia. So he extended the war. He's authorized to do this, first of all. He doesn't do this completely on his own. He is authorized to do this in April of 1970, April 28th, 1970. And then he invades it almost immediately on May 1st, 1970. This is an extension of the Vietnam War, and it is extended into a neutral country. At the time, Cambodia had not at all been a part of the war. They hadn't chosen a side. They were obviously right next to Vietnam. You can see here on the map, South Vietnam and North Vietnam, but they had not taken a side in this war. Later, this decision by Nixon ends up causing a mass genocide that we will talk about in a few more videos. As part of a protest against the Vietnam War, we see students killed, 4 of them. Here over, you can see them on the side. 4 students killed at Kent State University. On May 4th, 1970, students at Kent State University, which is in Ohio, were staging protests about the bombing of neutral Cambodia. Part of these protests did include setting fire to the ROTC building that was on campus. The Ohio National Guard was called in when this happened, and the guardsmen fired on the student protesters. They opened fire on them completely. Some not protesting at all, some simply walking by. They just opened fire on the campus. 28 soldiers killed 4 people and wounded 9 others. Again, not all of these people were part of the protests. This was an active college campus at the time. Some of these people were simply bystanders that were shot and killed. A major national response to this took place. 4 million students across the United States took place in a strike, walking out of schools. And when this happened, we see a further divide of public opinion of the war. This further intensified the already fairly high tension surrounding the Vietnam War, and especially the action of going into Cambodia at the time. In March of 1970, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty went into effect. This is an international treaty whose entire point was to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and nuclear technology. They also wanted to work to promote peaceful usage of nuclear technology and to achieve a global goal of disarmament. So it is signed by, as you see here, okay, all of these countries. Only a few countries didn't sign: India, Israel, Pakistan, and South Sudan. All of these other countries signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and of course they signed it earlier, and it did go into effect in March of 1970. We also see in the early 1970s ping-pong diplomacy become famous. If you've seen Forrest Gump, you have certainly seen a little bit about this diplomacy. So this is ping pong, table tennis, which I'm sure you've seen, if not played. And we see these table tennis games occur between the United States and China in the early 1970s. It begins during the 1971 World Table Tennis Championships in Japan. And it is at this point that we see the sport really bring the United States and China to a new place. It marks a major thaw in Cold War tensions, and it's a turning point in the relationship that we as the United States are able to have with China. Then in March of 1971, the Bangladeshi people proclaimed their independence and have their Independence Day on, again, March 26th, 1971. So originally, if you look on this map here where Bangladesh is outlined, originally that was known as East Pakistan. Remember, when India is partitioned, it is split into West Pakistan and East Pakistan and India. Okay, so those countries all come out of partition, and up until the early 1970s, this area was known as East Pakistan, and this area, what we know as Pakistan today, was known as West Pakistan. Well, East Pakistan had a very large population, but they were generally ignored by the government in Western Pakistan because that's where the central government was, and they intended to pay more attention to the people who were here instead of those all the way over here. Well, in 1970, a cyclone and a tidal wave came through, killed almost 266,000 people in East Pakistan, and we see a huge pouring of international aid at this point, but West Pakistan was very slow to transfer that aid to East Pakistan. A number of demonstrations broke out, and this led to the Bangladeshi people declaring their own independence. A small civil war did follow. West Pakistan was not eager to give up all of that territory, despite not wanting to always give them what they needed or what they were asking for. They didn't want to lose all that land, but Indian forces sided with East Pakistan, and as a result, West Pakistan surrendered. From that point on, West Pakistan was known as Pakistan, and East Pakistan became Bangladesh, and their Independence Day is March 26th. On January 30th, 1972, a nonviolent civil rights march had been planned in Derry, which is in Northern Ireland, and 26 unarmed marchers were shot by the British Army, leading to the deaths of 14 of these people. This event was part of the ongoing troubles that I had said started in August of 1969, and this became known as Bloody Sunday. You may have heard of Bloody Sunday. This is the event that it is referencing, the deaths of these 14 people. And finally, in the end of February 1972, President Nixon visited China. His visit is a major step in finally bringing relations between the United States and China to a more normal place. It also marked the very first time that a United States president had visited the People's Republic of China, and it ended 25 years of separation between the two countries. It began what we call the era of detente. Detente is the relaxation of tensions during the Cold War. It's a cool down point where tensions between the communist and the democratic countries tend to cool down. It is a relaxation of those tensions during the Cold War. For the assignment that you have to go along with this, you are going to complete a worksheet all about detente and get to learn a little bit more about Nixon's visit and about how that helped to shape this part of the Cold War. You will find that attached in the email that I sent you. And of course, let me know if you have any questions.